Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go through a bunch of results over the past few weekends, BSF Manila, France and Texas, as well as Daivangasai that happened on the weekend. Lots of DB10 results. So we're going to go through what is the most impactful deck in the current metagame in the Japan side and see how it kind of evolves from what we are currently experiencing in the Springfest environment. If you guys need any coaching, my link is in the bottom right hand corner, my Metafy link. Feel free to hit me up a session and we can get started. So first of all, we have BSF Manila. This is the standard format, and as we know, Jet and Eva are the two most dominant decks in the format at the moment. And Manila seems to quite like Overlord. So a huge proportion of Overlords, 5 Overlords, 2 Youthberg, 2 Lutetia, and 1 ofs in Minerva and Jujud. Jujud's probably one of the most interesting ones because it doesn't have the mass support yet. But as you can see, pure dominance by Chronojet and Eva, and that's pretty much as expected. Looking to the top 4 teams, the new dinosaurs coming first with Minerva, Lutetia, and Jet. So this team didn't bring Eva. Chihuanated with Eva, Overlord, and Jet coming second. This is probably one of the, standard compositions that we see for this format. So, you pair Jet, you pair Eva into essentially any good third deck. Asaka de Papa coming third with Jet, Overlord, and Eva. Again, pretty much the same composition, just swap the Eva and Jets around. And then Lando Gang with essentially the same composition, Jet, Overlord, and Eva. So it seems like, these guys have kind of got it sorted for the most part. The first team obviously found that there's more merit into playing, Lutetia and Minerva. And I think those two decks are completely fine in this current format. Then jumping into Manila V Premium. V Premium was pretty crazy. A lot of it was Luard, Ange, but there was a pretty good even split amongst pretty much everything else. So, you have some Jewel Knights, Gurguits, Fenriers, Himikos, and then a bunch of one-offs like Chaos, Yasue, from Maj, Enigma Storm, Leopold, and just like one-offs, So the V Premium format, now that Steam Maiden is gone, you can kind of see the format evolve. And I guess there's more picks that you can choose now, but obviously it's still the dominant decks that you kind of want to bring is Luard and Ange. And then looking at the top 4 imported goods, first place with Leopold, Ange, and Luard. This is probably the best team composition. You can look at, some others, and not to say that Leopold is probably the best deck or Ange is the best deck. There's still Melody, and there's still other decks out there that can kind of fit into that composition as well. Tharvas is one of them, Vanquisher as well. So yeah, first place was imported goods. Second was TTT with Himiko, Chaos Breaker, and Luard. Third was Soldar with Yasue, Fenrir, and Gladio Dragon, which is a very interesting lineup. And then fourth place was Carcanus Light with Gurguit, Jewel Knights, and Battle Sisters. So that third place team, that's what you call, bring in your favorites. You bring your favorites to teams. You take the load off some of your team members who is not probably having the best round, and then, get carried like other rounds if you bomb out, and, that's the beauty of team format. And then looking at Premium, we don't have the pie chart for Premium, unfortunately. All of this is available to you guys on Fuzzy's Twitter at Fuzzy Paradox, or you can see it on his website as well, vg-paradox.com. This site is amazing. Pretty much your go-to place and my go-to place for pretty much any deck list that, I kind of want to reference. And then obviously, do my own testing and then change in some stuff. So feel free to hit up that website. That website's awesome. Big shout out to Fuzzy again for all the infographics. And first place with Balls Check with Gridora, NLK, and Holy Shine Dragon. Now, Holy Shine Dragon, to be honest, I thought would have had way more impact, but I guess the meta that it was introduced in was filled with Narukami, and Narukami pretty much eats up Gold Paladins alive. So that's probably why we don't see very many Gold Paladins, but now that Narukami has kind of chilled down a little bit, this is now a great time for Holy Shine Dragon to shine. Vorpal Descenders coming second with Maidens, so I'm guessing this is some sort of Maiden's engine with something else. Sweet Command and Battle Sisters. Third was Imported Goods, another team that went back-to-back days of topping with Eradicator, Starbucks, and Maidens, and then EMT with Gridora, Maidens, and Riviere. So you can see over the past few tournaments, we can see a rise in Gridora. Maidens is still a strong engine that you can splash into any, essentially ride down mechanic, and Chrono Jet is still a thing. You can still ride down with that deck, and with the Maiden engine, you're still able to do that. But a lot of these decks also kind of translates into some of the tournament results that we'll see later in this video in France and in Houston. So yeah, just as you can see, pretty much free reign in Premium, which is not technically a bad thing, but it really highlights that a lot of the decks in the format at the moment are quite viable. Now jumping to Japan, we had Daivangasai. So day one was tri-regulation, and what tri-regulation is your team composition must include one person playing D, one person playing V, and one person playing Premium as well. All sitting in their respective seats versus the other player on the other team of the respective formats. So the first place team brought Ebisu, which is Monster Strike, Prism, and Gurgut Premium. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this Gurgut Premium is a loop deck, and it is not available in English. I think Nico Fernando did play this on stream with me one time. There is a promo that is available in Japan that is never released or has never been released in English. So hence why it is, I guess, able to be played in the Japan format. And then second place brought Ebisu, Maidens for V, and Katrina. Third place was Messiah for D, Regalia for V, which is quite interesting, and then Rising Nova. Spike Brothers is still a really good deck in Premium, so big merits to the Spike Brothers player. And then the fourth team bringing Jet, Melody in V, and Regalia in Premium as well. So yeah, huge diversity, and this is pretty much what you can highlight, that Premium is this format where it's very open-ended at the moment, and there's not a completely oppressive deck, which may be good and may be bad going into like a solos format. If there's no defined deck, then the meta gets a little bit harder to, I guess, solve. But then the big brains of the game will be able to capitalize on that and find what the best deck is. So yeah, pretty much some foresight going into the BCS format later on this year. Then we look at day two for Daivangasai. So Daivangasai day two was pretty much standard teams, and it was broken into two blocks. So we have block A. A huge proportion of these teams brought Gandiva and Hexaorb with Jet as well. And a huge increase in Zorga, but a very low representation of Eva. And that's probably because of diversity cut. Day one had no diversity cut. Day two did. So because a lot of these teams are experiencing diversity cut, they kind of don't want to bring Eva, and they want to bring, I guess, maybe a newer pick or an obscure pick so that they can float in. Like, as you can see, there are decks like Felty Rosa, Alestial, even Heroes getting in there, Jujuled Maelstrom even. So you can see that these decks are like slowly creeping in. But one deck that I think will be a big shocker to you is Willista. So Willista is probably one of those decks at the moment that is going to start creeping into the format come, Festival Collection. And I think it's a very unsolved deck at the moment, because essentially for Daivangasai Day 2, you needed to buy Festival Collection boxes on the day or the day before, and it was pretty much limited stock. So finding access to Willista for Day 2 was quite, limited. So the fact that this deck is doing well and highly represented may signal some sort of growth of Willista into the standard format, because, that deck was kind of bottom tier for a very, very long time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I can gather from this pie chart. And then looking at the winning teams. So we have the first team bringing Overlord, Hexaorb Marine, Aquamarine, and Jet. Second was Zorga, Hexaorb, and Gandiva. Third place was Zorga, Youth, and Gandiva. And then fourth was Eva, Willista, and Zorga. So just looking at the winning team. So the winning team had an Overlord. Big respect to the crit layouts, choices of crit, I think. Very, very cool to see, you know, these Bang Dream crits being ran in these decks. Pretty standard list, to be honest. Nothing too crazy. Very the end focused. Playing the Auto Hatch Dragon, and then also playing the Grade 2 Cycler. The good thing about this Cycler is that it bypasses Eva, because it says to retire every unit in the same column, and it doesn't target. But I'm not too sure if that retires Obscurade, because I think Obscurade just prevents it from being retired entirely. So there is another choice that this player could have ran, which was Meteor Flare Dragon, which essentially turns off all abilities, which means intercept. Is essentially turned off. So that might affect Eva, but maybe this player didn't really care about Eva, and maybe even looked into the future and kind of predicted that there's not going to actually be a lot of Eva because of diversity cut. So yeah, very interesting way to include in Overlord, but I think going into this format, you'll see a lot of cycle cards. And as you can see in this Hexorb list, there's 4 cycle cards, but this cycle card for Keta is actually really strong. Playing Refruzos for restanding rear guards. And yeah, pretty much everything else is quite simple. Cast to Scry, cast to Draw, and yeah, very Persona Ride focused. Starting with the original Hexa Orb, and then going into Aquamarine afterwards. So I guess capitalizing on a pretty heavy, you know, power pumping grade 3, and then going into a more multi-attack focused area with the Aquamarine afterwards. But the good thing about this deck is that you can kind of draw the Aquamarine and then manually ride it instead of riding it from ride deck if you ever need to. The deck, you know, goes through the deck, you know, quite well to be able to find that. So yeah, that's the Aquamarine list. And then the Jet list. This Jet list is pretty questionable. There's a few questionable picks, like, I don't know. Some of these are like one-offs, but I guess it's like they don't have Swirler. But even then, like, why would you not max on Ling and like other Soul Trading Guard like Gungaram, which is quite surprising. Kind of playing like a toolbox, because this can, I guess, intercept for like, what, 5k from the back row or something. So yeah, pretty obscure list, playing a bunch of one-offs, and then opting to run the new Overtrigger, which is essentially salvage a card from the bin, and then give a unit a crit, which, to be honest, defensive capabilities allows for this to work. So yeah, that's Chronojet for the winning team there. And then going into Block B. So Block B, huge emphasis on Jet, Gandiva, and Ebisu. And then looking at some of the middle ground decks, Zorga, Hexor, Messiah, and a Willista again. Probably a deck to look out for come the next format. Then the winning team. This team was Man Long's team. So from Hong Kong, big shout out to Man Long. This guy is an absolute monster. His team brought Gandiva. I think he was the Gandiva player. Eva and Ebisu. Second place was Gandiva, Zorga, and Jet. Third place was Gandiva, Vanguard, and Jujun Mask. And then fourth was a Jet, Gandiva, and Zorga. So let's just look at his deck. Yeah. Playing Meteor Flare Dragon, only playing 3 of this card, which is alright. I don't think you need to really max 4. And yeah, like I think this is a pretty good base to go off for Gandiva, and also running the Bavsagra line so that you essentially get a free ride line, because I don't think the grade 1 is too useful, but I guess, like, you know, free ride line is a free ride line, right? Sometimes people could even opt to run the Bavsagra grade 2 to get that back for a +1, but other than that, you know, this harvest to pretty much draw a billion cards. So yeah, very interesting list by Man Long. So big shout out again, Man Long. Congratulations. The Eva player, pretty stock standard. Nothing too obscure. 4 of the Youthquake promo to search for your orders. And then the cycle card. Yeah, this is very, very stock standard. Deciding to play 1 of the crit heal, which, to be honest, in the mirror might be quite good. But yeah, that's pretty much the list for the Eva. And then Ebisu, big respect to this guy. Full max rarity Monster Strike. Everything Monster Strike rare, and big shout out to Bear. I think, yeah, this deck is absolutely amazing. Just because of how it looks. Like, I don't even care about the effects. I really love the art on Monster Strike, and the fact that this whole deck is maxed. Big respect. Big respect. All right, now jumping back to the western side, we have Springfest France. And then first place was 8 Gaming with Eva, Jet, and Overlord. Again, the same composition as 3 of the teams from Manila. Francais de Paris with Hazaret, Eva, and Jet. So Eva and Jet, and then a third deck, right? That's kind of like the trend, right? Brexit Among Us with Eva, Wellstra, and Jet. I think this composition here, I think this composition is actually really good. I rate Wellstra. Wellstra is a very, very good deck. And then fourth was Alliance Home with Bavsagra, Wellstra, and Eva. Pretty cool to see Bavsagra, you know, still taking names. And then jumping to V. V was singles format, so I guess the player cap wasn't enough, or the team's cap wasn't enough. First place was Maxime Jalon with Battle Sisters. Second was Tybolt Cantalupi with Ange, and then Aurelian Candelier with Ange as well. Second was Anthony Hao Chen Yan with Raging Form. So yeah, pretty cool, but a little bit concerning that, you know, people are opting to play D over V. We can kind of see the transition of players now, you know, V not being a very changing format, very stale for a while, and then people, you know, trying to move away from that into a format that kind of changes per set. And then jumping into Premium, so the first place team brought Maidens, NLK, and Davas. So finally NLK showing some love. Second also with NLK, but the sickest deck, I gotta say. All right, so this team brought Nightmare Doll, NLK, and Valkyrian with the Dragon Tree. So for those of you guys who don't know, essentially what that means is the Valkyrian ditches a grade 10 for 10 drives, and it restands for 5 drives, and then attacks for another 5 drives. So 15 drives on a Valkyrian, and I think it's a meme deck, but maybe this, you know, team says otherwise. And then Team Cardiff coming third, so this was Solemn's team. Big shout out to him, congratulations buddy, with Highlander, Jay on Narukami, and then Mo on Minerva. And then fourth was Overtriggered with NLK, Katrina, and Eradicators. So a lot of diversity, a lot of different decks that can be played in this format. And again, shown here again that Premium is the Wild Wild West. Let's put it that way. And then jumping to Texas, so in the US, we had Standard. So first place team brought Minerva, Flagberg, and Jet. Second place brought Eva, Roroa, and Youth. I've heard that Roroa is a Jet killer, which I'm not sure if I agree. It's aggressive early, but a Jet killer is kind of overrating it, I think. And anyway, let's continue on. Third place was Eva, Jet, and Overlord. Again, the same composition. So we can obviously a huge trend that a lot of teams are opting for this lineup for Springfest. So maybe we'll see this same format or this same composition again in future Springfest formats. And then fourth place was Overlord is overrated, and maybe it is. Maybe Overlord is overrated. So this team brought Jet, Lutetia, and Eva, and not opting to bring the Overlord. So yeah, that was the standard teams. Going into V, so V team, the first place brought Maidens, Yasue, and Night Rose. Yasue, wow, that's an old deck. I haven't seen Yasue pop up in a very, very long time. Second place was Melody, Nightmare Doll, and Thavas. Third place was Shahara, Luad, and Melody. So slightly now we can see a bit more Melody tops, and I actually thought we would have seen more, but maybe people put more respect on Ange purely because you can actually bounce the Phenas, which actually makes it super detrimental for any of your intercepts as well. And then fourth place was Perfect Storm with Ange, Maiden, and Luard. And the fact that, you know, Maiden is, I guess, banned? I don't know if the ban list like covered this, right? But the fact that Maiden is still in V, that's, yeah, a bit wild to me. Alright, so that's pretty much the V Premium side, and then we had Premium. First place with Kingslayer cards with Jewel Knights, Chaos Breaker, and Maidens. Seekers, second place with Davas, Katrina, and Nightmare Doll. Born for Greatness coming third place with Maiden, Nightmare Doll, and Highlander. And the Perfect Storm again coming fourth with Granblue, Eradicators, and Chaos Breaker. And that's pretty much all the results we had over the past few weekends. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of all the results. I am very, very interested to see where the standard format goes come set 10 and Festival Collection. I think there's going to be huge innovations coming from the Japan side, and then hopefully translate over to the Western side, and maybe we can brew something super duper cool. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.